This is a very unusual video for me, but I'm going to make it anyway because I've had pet fish for over a year now. In the beginning, I had no idea how to get started. So I wanted to create this video just for those beginners who are considering getting some pet fish and just want to know what the absolute basics are required. So let's get to the first one. When it comes to the type of fish, it's best to ask, or wherever you're considering buying it from, of which fish work well together. So I've got one fish which is a Siamese fighting fish, also known as a betta fish. Beta, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. And my second fish is a Cory catfish. Beta fish I call Chippy, and my catfish I call MJ after Michael Jackson because of the black and white spots. And I've learnt that Siamese fighting fish are very protective of their territory, so they really don't like to be around other Siamese fighting fish. After going to the shops, they advise that it's best to get one of these calmer, more relaxed catfish because it will be a good influence on the beta fish, so it's not as aggressive. And that's exactly what we've found. They both get along really well. However, I want to tell you a really quick story. I did have 5 neon tetrafish. They're very, very tiny fish. And I called them One Direction because there were 5 of them and they all swam in one particular direction. So you know what all the names are. I found that they were actually being very aggressive towards Chippy, the beta fish. I only noticed it after a few weeks, so I decided to take them all out, put them into a fishbowl separately. And I think because of the stress of trying to grab them with the net and transfer them into a fishbowl, I went for a walk, came back, and unfortunately they all died, which is a really big shame. So now we're left with 2 and I'm just keeping it as 2. So these are the things that you're going to need if you want pet fish. First thing is the fish tank. The size of my fish tank is around 20 litres. I just bought it from Kmart. It's cheap and cheerful, does the job, and it seems to be holding up really well. And I think 2 fish, maybe even 3, is sufficient for that size fish tank. Any more, then it'll just be overcrowded. Next, I bought some gravel or stone just to lay down onto the base of the fish tank. I got them a little cave from Kmart as well. It's just so that they can hide away and have some privacy when they need it, and even from each other. And it's a really good idea just to buy some fake plants. I did buy a real plant, but the water got so dirty from the real plant and it was so difficult to clean. I decided just to opt for fake plants, and it looks nicer, they're easier to clean. I guess it's more stimulating for them to swim around all the different plants. You'll also need a water pump which has a filter in it. That gets changed every single month, and I also got that from Kmart. And another thing you'll need is a water heater. Because they're tropical fish, you actually need to keep the temperature, I think it's around the 25-degree mark. Also, one thing to note is these fish prefer calm waters as opposed to more flowing water. You'll also need a water sterilizer, and you just put this once a month. And there's also food that you have to be mindful of because Chippy tends to swim near the top, so you can sprinkle food that floats on top of the water, whereas MJ is usually at the bottom of the tank. And in that case you need pellets that actually sink all the way to the bottom, so then otherwise they won't eat. So we've got 2 different types of foods to cover both their diets. I just feed them once every morning, once a day. It doesn't take much time, so that's a great thing. Cleaning the tank can be a little bit of a nuisance. I only do it once a month. I use this tool to vacuum out 80% of the water. I think you're supposed to do a lot less, but I think the water gets pretty dirty. So I take out all the plants, the caves, the heater and the pump. I give them all a good rinse under the tap, give them a good clean. I wipe down all the glass on the inside of the tank, put everything back, fill it all back up with fresh clean water, and then put a few drops of the sterilizer in. And I make sure when taking the pump out, I change the filter, and I buy that also from Kmart. It's very, very cheap, and I make sure I change that once a month because it does get really filthy. You'll be surprised how black it turns out. So you can see it's very low maintenance looking after fish, and I find it very beneficial having fish because I find it very therapeutic. I find it enjoyable watching them swim around, and it really de-stresses me. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them, and I'll catch you in the next video.